if you don't know who Jim is, and I said this from stage the other night, there wouldn't be a life extension movement if it wasn't for people like Jim.
Thank you.
And so, you know, when I was Googling the other night, and I was, you know, a couple of weeks ago, and I was watching videos of you like 26 years ago.
You went researching into my past.
I stalked you. I stalked
You
you. And I thought, God, what bravery that was.
Oh, yeah.
To say, hey, we actually think that you can live longer, so let's talk about that. And you could sort of, like, when it's such a new thing, what drove you to believe that and to do that?
Yeah, you know, the core of it is that I always had a feeling that something was wrong with death, and I always had a real passion for life. So I've told this story before, you may have heard it, but when I was about 9 years old, I said to my mother, well, my grandmother had just died. I had faced my first, you know, person dying that was close to me.
The loss.
Yeah. And which a lot of us had those experiences, kind of a wake up, and the pain of that, because it was very close to her. And my mother said, to comfort me, she said, well, you know, she's gone to heaven, and you know, you'll get to see her like when you die, which is another chilling thing I had to face as a 9-year-old.
Yeah.
And then, so I said, well, so immediately just popped out, well, why do we have to die to go to heaven? Why can't we have heaven here on earth? And my mother said, whoa. She said, that's a good thought. But I don't really know the answer to that. So, you know, why don't you follow that? Why don't you pursue that thought? And that kind of implanted in me, you know, that feeling. And I think just from that time, I just pursued everything I could from, you know, I mean, I'm a 9-year-old kid, but every time I could hear anything or talk about that, even in school, I wrote themes about it, and actually won some awards from my teachers about it, from writing these themes about life and things like not dying and things like that.
Yeah.
And so
because that doesn't fit the box.
So start early, yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. So I started early, and then to make a long story short, I met the partner who I'm working with now in 1968, actually. Before that, well, one important point was I was when I was 15, and I got into integral yoga, because integral yoga was the guru for integral yoga was Sri Aurobindo, and he was impassioned about life. He said, why don't we, he was like Abraham Lincoln of India. He said, why don't we create a super body to match the super consciousness, and a body that would not die. So see, I followed that strand. And I did that
you can
when I was
tell
15 years
how
old.
focused you were on that.
Yes.
How many 15-year-old teenage boys
I know.
are getting into yoga to look after their body and that?
Yeah.
So that's how driven you were.
Yeah, that's